Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the PI Guy Saturday morning live stream. It's good to see everybody here. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll do a few quick homework or cleaning up things, stuff like that, getting things ready. Um, I want to thank everybody for joining me. Um, if you have any PI industry related questions, go ahead and hop into the chat down below and put them in there. I'm going to try to get to as many questions as I can. We're going to just jump into the questions here really quick. Our first one is from, let me pull it up here for you so you can see it. Our first question is from Raymond Couch. How do you find a store and forward bug burst transmitter which is sleeping? Which systems can sniff this out during a live sweep while the burst signal is not awake? I'm a little tongue twisted yet this morning. So anyway, what Raymond is talking about is there are devices that are called burst devices and also drop devices. He's talking about bugs, video recorders, hidden cameras, hidden audio recorders, things like that. And a burst device is one that would be recording a lot right now, but it's not transmitting a signal. It will transmit a signal on a schedule, like at 2 o'clock in the morning, or every hour, or every hour and a half, something like that. And he's asking, how would you find something like this, or even a drop device? A drop device then never transmits if the individual can get access into where he put the hidden camera or the hidden audio recording devices. Then you would he would be able to go back in, change the batteries, change the device out, things like that. So he's saying, how do you find something like that? It is very difficult. There's a couple of things that you can do if you have the money, of course, to do it. I would say seek a professional TSCM company, such as the one that I have, because this equipment can get very expensive. If you have a spectrum analyzer that can record the data, you can set that up, and that will be watching all of the radio frequencies for a period of time, like overnight, and seeing if something's transmitting. Now, it's not going to tell you where it is. It's going to tell you what frequency it's at, when it's broadcasting, things like that. That will help you be able to identify when and where to maybe do a sweep. But those burst device signals may be very short periods of time. They're not going to be long periods of time. So a spectrum analyzer might help you a little bit. A nonlinear junction detector is another one, and these pieces of equipment are expensive. We're talking $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 worth of equipment each to be able to do this. So a nonlinear junction detector will identify pieces of electronics, whether they are on or off, whether they're recording or not recording, whether they're transmitting or not transmitting, whether they work or not. It is an area, you're going to scan a small area. You're going to have to go very, very slow as you're scanning this, and it's going to look for any kind of a device in somewhere. But again, it's very, very expensive, very time consuming to do something like that. I don't recommend that. We do have a nonlinear junction detector. We don't use it on all of our sweeps because of the complications of how long it takes to use it and the training that is involved and everything like that. And I mean, you can't sweep. Well, you could sweep every inch of a house, all the walls, the ceilings, every piece of furniture, everything like that. But it would literally take you a week or two with a couple of technicians going through that kind of a process. The best way to find burst devices and drop devices, in my experience, is with your eyes, your hands, and inspection cameras. And if you go to my website, freeprivateinvestigatortraining.com, you can go in there, you can go to the PI gear, and I have a whole section dedicated to bug sweep type of equipment that you can look at from a personal standpoint. And there are some inspection cameras in there, so you can look in every nook and every cranny and look around for those devices. That's how we will discover those. And most of the time, that's what you're going to find is things that are bursting or things that are drop devices, because the person that put it in there has access and they're able to get in and change those batteries and change the device out and grab it to get their recording. So I hope that helps, Raymond. I see a lot of people hopping in here. Let me check on some quick questions that we have here. Steve says, how do you get certified as a PI in a state like Colorado that eliminated licensure requirements? Great question, Steve. Thank you so much for asking that. Bottom line is you don't need to be certified. If you're in Colorado, unfortunately, you can just come to Colorado and you can hang your shingle and call yourself a private investigator. There's no certification, there's no licensing required. A lot of us here are licensed in other states. And when I say a lot, I don't know the true number, but I would say maybe 100 or so private investigators in Colorado are licensed in other states, neighboring states, be it up in Wyoming. Wyoming does not have licensing, but the city of Cheyenne does. I am licensed in the city of Cheyenne, Wyoming. Some people will go to Utah, New Mexico, Nebraska, Kansas, places like that, and they'll get a license because that's nice to be able to show your clients that you have been vetted, you are licensed, and you are truly a professional. But when we had licensing in Colorado, we had over 1,400 licenses out there. And there's maybe 100 or so folks that have licensing there. So there's a little bit of a story there. DJ MFB, how are you doing this morning? Have you ever heard of a state requiring official law enforcement experience in order to get licensed? And I have. There are some states out there that do require that. I don't think they require only that, but they require that you have to have so much law enforcement experience or other types of experience. I don't know myself if there's any out there that require that you absolutely have to have experience there in that. HJGH, how would you go about finding out who keeps playing with the psychiatry while I'm trying to shop online? I have no idea, sir. Have absolutely no idea. So I wish I could help you, but I'm not able to. Jeffrey Wilkinson, who is usually hiring PIs and why? And that's a great question, Jeffrey. Who hires PIs is going to depend on, obviously, on the need, but there's a great market out there in a lot of areas. There's domestic investigations. You may have a husband or a wife hiring you to look into the other person if they think infidelity is going on or something like that. If there's a divorce situation happening, they may want to get the background on them, see who they're associating with, things like that. That's very common out there. Insurance companies are hiring private investigators all the time, looking at potential insurance fraud cases. Criminal defense investigators are hiring us to work criminal defense cases. We do accident investigations. I actually have a video out there that covers about 25 different types of investigations that private investigators can do. So if you hop over to my YouTube channel, just go to the channel page on there and go to videos. You can search on that, and you can find a lot of things. So there's a lot of different people. Most of us we're working in the private sector. Excuse me. Even if we're doing criminal defense, we're working on the defense side usually, not on the prosecution side. We could work on the prosecution side, but usually we're going to be working on the defense side. So we're going to be hired by that criminal defense investigator to be able to do something like that. So I hope that helps. Let's hop back into the mailbag really quick. If you do have questions, go ahead and pop them into the chat down below, and I will try to get to as many as I can. Our next question is from Beasticus. I'm trying to start in the field as well. What would you suggest if the state association is not responsive? I'm trying to get information, but to no avail. And he was watching a video, I believe it might have been one of my live stream videos, where I was talking about one of the best ways to get into the industry and learn about licensing and learn how to get in there, maybe get some mentorship, things like that, is to go to your state PI association. And I do believe that's a really good place in most cases to be able to go there. If they're not being responsive, I'm sorry that they're not. One of the things I do know about state PI associations, I'm going to have to grab a quick drink here. I still got a little bit of a tickle there. I've had a cold for quite a while, so. But one thing I do know about these state associations is they are ran by some great volunteers, and that's something that you have to remember is they're a volunteer. So you may you might send an email out today, and it may take a week or longer for them to respond. I would like to think that they would get back to you sooner, but sometimes it just depends on that volunteer, on how much time that they have to be able to allot to it. As well, the emails may be going to the wrong person if something didn't get transferred over properly. So if you're not getting a response from one person, you might go up to the next person. And most state PI associations are going to have a president. A lot of them will have a chair of the board, and then they'll have different vice presidents, like for training, for membership, for legislative affairs, different things like that. So if you're trying to get hold of somebody at membership to learn about membership and you're not getting anything, you might try the VP of training and see when they're going to have a training event, or talk to the president of the association themselves, or just look and see when do they have a meeting coming up. If they have a training event coming up in a few weeks, next month, whatever, just show up. Usually the doors are open for non-members to go there too, because they want people to be able to come in and become members. So I hope that helps you out there. Our next question, excuse me again, from Raymond Bellick, and this isn't really a question. Raymond was watching a video where I was talking about doing some cold weather surveillance and how to get around that, how to stay warm, different things like that. And he says some of the power tool companies have come out with a work jacket that is heated with a power tool battery, great for cold weather surveillance. DeWalt is one that I have, but they all work well as a heat source in a cold vehicle. And I put this up there because I didn't know this. I didn't know this. This is great. I'm looking into some myself. I don't do a lot of my surveillance myself. I subcontract most of that out. But when I have to go out there, I want to be able to keep warm. So I'm going to look for something like this. And I just wanted to throw that out there for you folks out there doing surveillance, because the weather is changing. I got up this morning and it was like 24 degrees. And if I was out there doing surveillance, it would be pretty darn cold. So our next question is from Harma Magician. So basically, proper bug detection is out of the average person's budget. And Harman was watching one of my videos. Let me see if I can pull this up really quick and kind of give you an idea of what Harman was looking at. I have a lot of videos out there on my website. If you go here to my playlist, I have like my TSCM bug sweep one is probably, he was watching, I believe, this video right here, the how hard can bug sweeps really be. And in that video, I go over all the equipment that's necessary to do a comprehensive bug sweep. And I have a lot of different videos, as you can see in here, about just doing bug sweeps, all in there. And he was watching that video, and it goes over the hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment that you need to be able to do a comprehensive TSCM, technical surveillance countermeasures bug sweep. And for the average person, yeah, from a budget standpoint, you're not going to go out and spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that. And even if you bought all the equipment, you don't know how to use it. You have to spend another, many thousands of dollars to take the training on how to do that. But there are some what I refer to as personal space bug detectors that you may be able to use. And if you go to my website, freeprivateinvestigatortraining.com, you can go there. In the menu up in the top, you can go to PI gear, and I have a whole section dedicated on bug sweeps with some personal space devices. Now, are they the exact same grade? No, but a lot of times if you're just trying to check an Airbnb, a hotel room, something like that, these will work. And I have a couple of videos coming out. I don't know the exact schedule. I schedule all my videos out, but in the next week or 2 or 3, I have a couple of videos that are coming about some newer devices that I wanted to teach you about and tell you about that are great for personal space protection. So I hope that helps out as well. And HJ, I have no idea on a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. So again, you can go through, if you're looking at some OSINT stuff, I have a whole area there that you can, a whole playlist that you can go ahead and you can, check and watch those videos on open source intelligence. Our next question is from Retroactive Jealousy. Are you able to do a video on how to do in-depth internet searches on people? That's a great idea. Thank you so much for that. I do have a lot out there on doing different types of internet searches. Doing a full OSINT or open source intelligence investigation training would be very time consuming. Again, I'm going to kind of hop back over to my website, or not to my website, but to my channel here. And if you go over to the channel page, if you go into the playlist, I actually have this playlist right here that is all on open source intelligence training videos, and I have a whole lot of them out there. And I would suggest, take a look at some of those and see if you can glean a little bit of information from some of those. I do have one that's going to be coming out. Again, I don't remember the exact schedule, but I just recorded it not too long ago on how to do social media investigations, which is of course part of an OSINT investigation. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully that will help as well. If you have any questions, hop down into the chat and let me know. As well, you can go into any of my videos and you can put a comment in, and I will try to get to those at a future Saturday morning live stream. That's where I'm getting all of these questions that I have up there in the top corner. They're people that left me messages there. Blue Writing asks, what if you don't have a name? Like someone tells you there's a guy who lived in the area 10 years ago. He has what you were looking for. I can't remember where he moved to. He might be dead now. He was pretty old, and I can't remember his name, but he was a distant cousin of so-and-so. There's a lot in there. And Blue Writing was watching a video of mine on how to locate people, finding people, doing interviews, things like that. And this would be a very, very tough situation. If I took a case on like this, one, I want to make sure that I let the client know the amount of resources that it's going to take to be able to do an investigation like this. This isn't going to be a basic locate investigation. This isn't going to be a skip trace or anything like that. You're probably talking many thousands of dollars on a retainer to be able to get something like this started, because you're going to need boots on the ground out there. I'm going to start with something like this, probably going to that neighborhood, knocking on doors, talking to people, trying to find some of those older people that lived there 10 years ago that might remember this person by this. We've got a few things to go with. He's older. He was a distant cousin of so-and-so. So we know that individual. So we have some things that we can ask questions with, and we can see if we can start to narrow down where he lived, what house he might have lived in, what his name might have been, stuff like that. When you start to narrow it down with that, then you might be able to go to your databases and start to search there. 10 years ago isn't that long ago. I can pull up most of my databases, and I can find people from the 90s, the 80s, and even the 70s. I can get some information on that. If that isn't going to work, then I can go to public records and stuff like that. But, man, I really apologize for that. That's where I would start. But you also have to realize that not every case is a case that you should take on. One of the things that you said in there was he has what you are looking for. If that's what the client is coming with, you have to make sure that you have a legal reason to be able to conduct that investigation. You don't just go out and find somebody because they want to find somebody. You don't know what their real purpose is. So they have to have a legal reason. So if it's just that he has what you're looking for, I'm probably not going to touch that investigation. Drunk Finesse says, should I start with domestic only until I build a client base? Great question. That is a good place to start. It's going to depend on your market and things like that. But doing domestic only cases, I hate doing a lot of them. I don't like doing surveillance. I don't like following somebody's wife into a bar and all that stuff. I've done it. I will do it. We do take them on. We don't take on as many anymore. Usually there's going to have to be, something, a lot of dollars involved in something like that. But doing domestics, cheating spouses, working for clients who are going through a divorce, trying to find, that's a great way to do it. If you want to do some surveillance, that's a good option too. Go out and find some surveillance companies out there, PI companies that might hire you to do surveillance while you try to build that client base. If you're working in that private sector, it is, you don't have a lot of repeat business. You don't have a lot of people that are going through a divorce every year, hopefully. So they're gonna be what I call one-off clients. But trying to get attorneys and things like that, then they can start to feed you a lot of that, and you're starting to build your experience. So however you can build that experience and pay the bills, that's the way to do it. Process serving would be another great way to be able to do that too. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, hop down in the chat below and let me know. Our next question is, I got a couple of them here from DRG Sniper Shark. What is the difference between private investigators and a police detective? And he says, what are the requirements to be a PI? So a big difference between a private investigator and a police officer is a private investigator is not a police officer. We have absolutely zero authority, zero power. We can't arrest people. We can't put people in jail, things like that. We're not out there interrogating people. We're generally working for the private sector in some case, some way. Even if it's through an attorney, we're working for the private sector. We're working in those domestic cases. If we're working criminal, it's usually going to be in criminal defense, things like that. So that's going to be the big difference. We have zero power as a police officer. And then what are the requirements to be a PI? That's going to depend on the state that you live in. Most states have PI licensing, and each one of those licenses is going to have different requirements. So you need to go to the state licensing authority and you need to see what those requirements are to get that license. And you're usually going to have insurance and bonding as well to be able to get that license. So I hope that helps, DRG. And I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to end it, and I will see you next Saturday.